Welcome, everybody, to Latinas Chat Media, a special edition where we talk all things lemonade. And we just threw this together. We usually, Latina Militant Minute.
Out of control.
That's hilarious. So we usually talk every third Saturday of the month at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And we've been trying to go more frequently. And so when Lemonade happened, we were all, moved by it and had a lot that we wanted to say about it with each other and with you. So we threw this together. And so we're glad because it's just the last minute to see so many of you here. So thank you for joining us on a Wednesday night. Hi, Maria. So why don't we get started? Let's just dive right in. First, visceral reactions to Lemonade. Your first reactions. Why don't you start us off, Linda?
Well, I was very shocked because I was expecting what I normally, with Beyonce, what you get is you get a nice, you get some nice eye candy, some maybe, great beat. That's about it. A little shallow. I'm not a fan. And I got to tell you, I started watching this, and by the second song, I went, wait a second. This is completely different. And my reaction by the end of the experience was so emotional and so, because when I take something in, I allow the feeling to come over me. I couldn't even talk. Like, there were so many elements that I was amazed by. And then I sat with it. I knew right away this was something very special. Very, very special. It was different. It was done well. It was, a lot of us are theater people. We're writers. We get the whole idea of art. We get the structure. And I knew that the people behind this that helped her had a lot to do with it as well. It was amazing. It was amazing. I've watched it 3 times already.
What about you, Maria?
It's funny. I had the complete opposite reaction. The first time I watched it, I'm like, oh my God, I hate this. It's self-indulgent. I didn't get it. And I honestly, I was kind of like, I don't know what she's doing. Like, this is the most self-indulgent, I Love Me project I've ever seen. And then we started talking about it on Facebook. And then I started reading the think pieces. And I think I said this on Facebook, that this is where you see the power of social media, because all of a sudden I'm reading the think pieces and I'm like, I'm missing something. Like, I'm missing something different. And then I went back and I wrestled. Some of it I still love, some of it I don't get. But the part that speaks to womanhood and the part that speaks to the magic that we have as women, Jesus Christ, I've been floored. And I can't stop listening to the country song. And then I got the layers, and then I got it, and now it's been occupying my mind for however many days it's been. It's been like omnipresent, and that's powerful art. And I missed that the first time around.
Theory. I know you had a feeling about that. This should waited because of Prince.
Well, I did. And you know what's funny is I think it was Awesomely Luby who was like, Prince would have wanted people to move forward with their art. And I was like, all right. Yes, no, I personally was like, come on, Beyonce, like a couple of days, please. People are still mourning. But interestingly enough, my timeline became like 50% Beyonce and 50% Prince. So clearly people who were still mourning, and people who were jumped on Beyonce, on the album jumped on. I love to watch movies and I love cinematography. And I think when I saw it, I could have just, and this is the thing, and this is probably where I'm going to get into a little trouble with the Beehive, and that's okay. I already know my role here. I could have actually just watched the entire thing with no words and just the instrumentals and just the visuals and been completely captivated. I was so captivated by the visuals on this one. I did get a sense, similar to Maria, that it is very Beyonce-centric, but what does Beyonce do that is not Beyonce-centric? So I'm actually okay with that. But I did think it was a beautiful fusion of music and story and images. that were really powerful. And I thought there was something, I struggle with it, but I think she did something really interesting in terms of like disrupting time, disrupting things that usually get paired together. I think that's what I've been stuck on and might talk about more later, is just, you know, things that we're used to seeing paired together. She's sort of pairing a lot of opposites together. And I think that's, you know, an interesting choice. So those were some things that stood out to me. But overall, it was beautiful. Jeez Louise.
Absolutely gorgeous.
So for me, it's interesting, Linda, that you said that you weren't expecting much. I actually don't have HBO, and I actually gave in to get a free trial to watch this.
A title.
But I actually was expecting this to be big, just based on formation. And this is coming from someone who is, I like Beyonce, but I'm not a big, huge fan. I like her, you know? But based on formations, I had this gut feeling like this was something that I needed to be part of the event. But here's the thing. I was multitasking instead of being really present with once it got started. But then I started to hear the music, and I'm a person that is not easily moved, because a lot of my engagement of media, which is interesting, right? Because really good media will move you. But I tend to come at it from a critical lens, and I can say, "Ooh, that was really good," or "I don't like that," but I'm not really moved emotionally all the time. And yet, from the first track, this thing got me. And I'm not a big ballads person either. When it comes to ballads, I like more 70s music, the old stuff, whatever. And then I realized this is something really amazing and special. We are watching a legend unfold.
Yeah. That peak of a moment, in an artist.
Because this moved me. And I especially love eclectic albums. I love when people bring different types of music in their work and pull it off. And I haven't been really this emotionally moved, like just really stirred, and not even know, like, where's that coming from? You know?
Yeah.
I haven't been moved like that by an album in like years. Like, I think the last album that I really liked like that was probably something by Mary J. Blige. And even she is not very eclectic. You know, she's solidly R&B. But Beyonce went to all these different places. And I, being a word person, was mostly moved more my music. It's interesting because a lot of folks, and we could talk more about this, a lot of folks were like, the visuals is what makes it so amazing, and wonder if the album, if it had been a more traditional album, just the music with the occasional music video, would this have been as compelling? And maybe that's something that we should discuss, because I'm probably one of the few people who was like, it moved me without the visuals. The visuals just made it even more compelling. I was moved by the music even without the film.
And I think it would have worked as just a visual with the story. I think it would have been so powerful just with how do you pronounce the last name? Worcestershire? Shire.
Yeah, Shire.
Yeah, just like as sort of like a spoken word visual ode, I think would have been incredible. The music to me was, you know, I could take it or leave. There's a couple of songs that I really like, but it was the visuals were out of this world. You know, I think it was like magical realism. It was women who run with wolves come to life. It was an ain't I a woman, and it was everything.
Well, this is an artist who is growing exponentially, emotionally, spiritually, and politically, and I think and artistically, and I think that's why this thing has been so phenomenal. Because even people who are not fans of hers are watching it multiple times and looking at it and getting something out of it and saying, yeah, there's something here. I may not be a fan of the baby. Yeah, I don't like the way her fans are, but I can't take this away from her. And this is just straight up artistically. Like, we're not even talking about the entrepreneurial aspect of it. Like, how does she pull off a production like this and it never leaks? You know? Turned into an event. And we're not even talking about, you know, her as a businesswoman. This is just artistically.
And she's the only person doing that right now. She's the only person. This is now she's sort of setting up a pattern of releasing things spontaneously, releasing an entity of music, or a compilation of things at one time. I think she's really at the vanguard of like that kind of shift in what people can do with music that hasn't, we haven't seen in a long time, or we haven't seen ever maybe.
And I think it's fascinating about it is that this is a social media age, and she manages to do all of this without social media.
Yeah, she does it.
Not on Twitter, Facebook.
The reason she does it, though, but I think the reason she does it is because it's social media, and they've been losing money. And I think what they're doing is they're experimenting. She every now and then you see something different, and they're trying things out. This actually worked really well. It's off of HBO now. You have to go. People are hunting for it. I mean, had it been a failure, it's a different thing. But this is a beautiful project. This is not just your average album release. This is huge. It's huge. It's cinematic. It's fantastic. It's different.
Angelique,
can I interject? Go ahead, Sophia, because I was just going to interject with that.
I think you want to answer. She says, do you think that this new kind of direction Bey is taking can be attributed to her not having her father as a manager? Do you think he held her back? It's a good question.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that, though, to be honest.
Well, could she have talked about her dad like this had he been there?
Right, right.
It was huge for her to say those truths about her dad, which everybody knows about.
Yeah.
But she said it. It came from her. So
yeah.
That's a great question.
I think she probably is showing, I think we've all at some point acknowledged that she's got an amazing, amazing creative team around her. And I think that there must be some fusion between ideas that she's bringing to the table and ideas that they're bringing to the table. And she's, you know how they say, like, surround yourself with the kind of people that, are going to uplift you or take your thing to the next sort of level. Right. And so it not having maybe the parameters that are drawn, when you work that closely with a relative or with a parent, they're your manager, but they're still your parent. Right. Yeah. And you can be an adult and you can be the star, but there's still that dynamic. And perhaps, perhaps Angelique got onto something in that, this sort of creative release. I also saw, I wish I remembered who wrote this. Somebody was like, I knew after she had her baby, she was going to change or explode or something. So it kind of makes me think of that also, right? Like, what role has motherhood played in her finding herself or redefining herself as a woman, as an artist, what she wants to, what kind of content she wants to put out there and stuff. So I think her life is changing, and we're seeing the manifestation of that in a lot of this new music that she's putting out.
But I also think it's the confluence, for example, of the Black Lives Matter movement along with motherhood, where all of a sudden, if you're not a mother, maybe you don't understand that pain. But I think once she crossed that line and she knows what it is to have a part of yourself outside of you in the way that those mothers did and lost, I think it was a confluence kind of like of the political life, of her personal life, of just everything that was going on at the time. But I also, getting back to the question about the distribution model, to have it event-based and to have partnered with HBO, I think was a brilliant move. I mean, she really created a film, and she just sort of just prepackaged her music inside her own visual work of art. I think it's like absolutely brilliant, and it's a game changer.
And it's interesting because people mentioned her father, and sometimes maybe even your own family or your own initial, like her father got her to a certain level, and maybe he underestimated his daughter's own genius.
Well, I think everybody saw her as an entertainer, and I think with this album she became an artist.
Yeah,
and not everyone can make that journey with you.
And I think that's why a lot of this becomes very surprising. And I think I sort of come from a very, I think that sort of Beyonce's rise was a very superficial kind of pop star rise. And all of the music she did was just like, fluffy R&B music that people could dance to and sing to, and it was fun and whatever. And so, right now, this change, I think, is a little jarring for me, someone who's known her since the very first record of Destiny's Child and sort of seen the first 10 or 15 years of her career, and now looking at what she's done in the last 2 years, let's say, is, I think it's really nice to see. I'm trying to hold myself back from being, hypercritical, which is what I usually am, and like, try to be in a place where I can say, let her grow. Let's see where she goes. Let's honor what she's doing, because I'm usually like, I don't know, maybe what about this, so I need to check myself in a little bit of that too. Because this is not the Beyonce of like, can you pay my bills, right? This is something else.
You have to, my favorite word is coming out again, evolution. Because I think that you evolve in time, and things become other things become important. Like you said, motherhood may have brought this new meaning. Mm-hmm. Plus, if she really is going through something with Jay-Z, that will put you in a whole different place, which, we talked about, is this fabricated or is this real? There's always that possibility, but honestly, those vocals in Sandcastle had me in tears. It wasn't even the visuals. It was her voice broke.
Right?
Yeah, it was her voice broke. It was, I said, no, that's pain. That's real.
I think it's both. I think it's very difficult for artists not to create both from lived experience and using our imagination. So I think there are aspects of this album that are true. I don't think we should take it as biographical, but I do think it's emotionally true. Yeah. That's what, even if he's not telling us everything, even if some things are fabricated, she's being emotionally honest. I could see it.
You could feel it.
And vulnerable. And very vulnerable. And showing the range of emotions. Because this thing has everything. It has love. It has anger. It has insecurity. It has and all types of love. Love for your man. Love for your dad. Love for your mom. Love for your grandmother. So it's love, it's sisterly love, community love.
My only regret, I mean, it's not even a regret. It's just my only sort of thing is that I love that journey. I think it's a really important and powerful journey that she goes on in this concept album. I'm so sorry, and I know I've said this before in a couple of things, that like there's all this other stuff with like Solange and Jay-Z and, Rachel Roy and all this other kind of like gossipy stuff that I think really detracts from understanding that journey. And I think even if some of it is fabricated and some of it is based in her truth, so many women go through that journey, and that's what women are bonding to, right? All of the women who've become invested in this are bonding to the fact that this album represents some journey that they've taken, or some moment where they might currently find themselves. Some of them are in apathy. Some of them are in anger. Some of them may be in denial. Some of them may have come full circle. And I get a little bit frustrated when, some folks, and this is in following social media and other things, some folks are just, sort of focusing on, the Jay-Z diss track and the this, that, and the other. And I'm like, damn, man, there's so much going on here that's way beyond Jay-Z. It's not
only about that. What? It's not only about me. It's about a range. It's about types of relationships and different types of love. Angelique asked a really good question that I want to pose to you guys, because there's a lot of male celebrities who are saying keep your woman away from Lemonade. And would anybody say that about a male artist? And what I want to put on the other side of that too is that we talked a little bit about that, acknowledging that.
So yeah, you got cut off.
Oh, I think she froze.
She froze. Sometimes it's the audio will do that.
Yeah.
She might have to reset.
Well, what I was going to say, if you guys don't mind me jumping in, is
my thing froze. I
understand why the perception in the public sphere is that she there's an open seat, so she's actually
she'll log back in.
Is because the entire framework for the film as a whole was the stages of grief, really. And,
yes, I'm back in. So the flip side of what Angelique is asking about these,
each of the individual sections can talk about any other aspect.
Okay,
but it really was framed around an infidelity and the path back from that infidelity. So I can't really blame them for thinking that. But you're right. There's so much there beyond that. I think that it was the infidelity that gave her the emotional journey. In dealing with it, I think that's when you kind of figure out what you hold on to. You hold on to your faith. You hold on to your family. You hold on to your community. You hold on to the bedrocks in your life. So I think that was with the catapult, but I think the journey took her to every other sphere too.
Can we talk a little bit about the different tracks?
Yeah.
And the visuals that accompanied it? Okay, so the first one is Intuition. The song is Pray You Catch Me. And this is the one where we're getting images of her roots, where she's from, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember completely. How did you guys feel about the opening track?
Well, you know what? I'm going to jump in and just say, other than the country song and the free song with the mothers of the boys, those are the only songs that really just musically kind of spoke to me. The rest, to be honest with you, I can so I'll give it to Siri to kind of.
What I loved about everything, though, is I felt that the one thing after I finished watching it, I thought, what great structure.
Yeah.
Because for me to really stay with something, it has to be built right. And it was built perfectly. The only track, honestly, that confuses me in all of this is the one where it's all red, 6-inch.
The 6-inch heels. Yeah.
We just started talking about the tracks.
6-inch, yeah.
You hear us?
No. I was able to guys. Just
did I freeze?
That track, it's funny.
Okay. Welcome back.
It's supposed to be about emptiness, but it felt like a hell. It was all red. It felt like hell, but she was also prostituting. It was almost like whorish. Like, I didn't get that. I don't know. I loved it. I went with it. It wasn't perfect, but that was the one track I said, I don't know. I don't know if it fits.
Is that the one about the blood and the...
Yes. And they're in a hallway. You're looking at this red hallway, and there's a little opening at the end of the hallway, like a window. It was something. It was small.
Or a door, or is it a door?
Oh, well,
a door?
Like the vagina?
Like a structure, yeah.
There's an opening.
Maybe. Well, I mean, but some of the language of the lyrics and the poetry had a lot to do with like bleeding, and a lot to do with vagina. So, I mean, I think we do, and I struggled with that. I struggled with that one too. Not so much because I didn't get it per se, but I think I agree with you, Linda, that it seemed a little out of place. But there were a couple of little things that I thought were out of place. Also, aside from that, because I wrestle with this idea of sex work and certain types of overt sexuality as being feminist acts. I wrestle with that. I'm not saying they are or they're not. I'm just saying that I'm in constant conflict with that idea, right? That type of thing is seen as some kind of feminist act or some kind of liberating thing. Yeah. I don't remember the lines, but shoot, I wish I had the lyrics in front of me, because I do remember thinking when I saw it that the lines are kind of like, is she saying that she owns something, or is she saying that she's in charge of something, right? And so you know, are you the madam in this brothel? Like I wasn't, I was a little kind of thrown off by that. And I think just before it, if I remember correctly, just before it was the short video where Serena Williams is dancing around her, right? So it's kind of like you have that short video where Serena Williams is doing all of this provocative dance around, and then it kind of leads into that. And so it just, I don't know, it took me to a different place.
It was her hard work. It was what all this that she invested in her career, because they take you back to her stage. There was that moment on stage too. But I don't know. I didn't get, that one wasn't very clear, but it still worked because it held. When other things are, when you hold up, when it comes to structure, and you find these really solid place, what do you call it, placeholders, that, you know, you can get away with something like that. I'm sure there's another meaning to it. I just didn't. And the Serena Williams thing, I don't know. It was like
I had mixed feelings.
Yeah, I didn't understand why.
No.
Huh?
I don't mind seeing
me too.
Work, but I didn't like the meaning of around her.
It sounds
What Beyonce did that I love, that if you look at a lot of
yeah,
that the black women with her,
I can't hear you.
I don't know what to do.
Sophia, yeah, the sound is really bad.
Stay close to the mic.
Because my
It's clearer now.
oh, okay.
I'm trying again, so I have to like close the blab. I had to close my computer.
Try a headset, like somebody said. I don't know if that works for you.
I can try. I gotta find one.
But what about you, Maria? How did you feel about Serena Williams?
Well, you know what? I mean, I didn't understand why she was there twerking either, to be honest with you. That being said, and I think somebody here pointed out the point is that she's often demonized for being too masculine, so in her regaining her sexual power. And I think that even ties in with that Red episode we were talking about, because the sexuality is a huge power for women. You know, we're demonized for it. It's a place of strength for us that's often oppressed, but in us. So I'm wondering if I don't know if you can have a conversation about femininity without talking about sexual power and prowess and ownership of that power and that prowess. And that's the only thing I could kind of think, that Serena was there to say, I am a woman, a strong one. My thighs can kill you, but they'll give you a lot of pleasure while you're doing it,
Yeah.
Am I back in?
Yeah.
Can I? Okay. So the only point that I want to make about this is, I don't know. Sorry if I'm repeating myself because I don't know what was heard. But I love seeing Serena in the piece. I love Serena being sexual and feminine, and I don't mind her twerking. It was just the positioning of it, of her twerking around Beyonce, like if they were dancing together or something like that.
Around Beyonce, right? Yeah.
But one thing that we have to also remember is that a lot of the black women that Beyonce has in this film with her are black women that have been attacked in so she had Amandla Stenberg. She had Shanae Wong. She had Zendaya. And these are conscious black women was on there also. Who have been attacked for one reason or another in this public space. And I think this is actually, we could keep going through the tracks, but let me ask you if you would mind talking about, because this is actually a good place to come in terms of, around the issue of, who's this for? And because, she made a conscientious decision to have these other sisters in this space with her, because it could have been a completely Beyonce project and still be really wonderful. But she made a choice to have these women who have been vilified
Yeah.
There's certain things that Black women do that white women get celebrated for. Black women twerk and they're slut shamed. Miley Cyrus does it, and she is this feminist hero. You know what Beyonce didn't. Taylor Swift this. These are women who she has in this who are genuinely her friends, and she's making a political statement by having them in it. This isn't just, hey, look how cool I am, because look at all how dope my friends are. They're all famous and awesome too, like me. She's making a statement with their presence and sharing the stage with them. And one thing that I also said was that I see an impulse to sisterhood in Beyonce that I've always wanted to see, but have never seen in someone like Jennifer Lopez.
And in Formation, she does that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say in Formation she led them.
I think it says something.
Here she joins them.
Yes, that's a huge difference in the way.
Yes. And that's actually something that was missing, I felt like, in Formation. I wanted to see more of that cohesiveness and less of her, although I do get at times that, you know, in a lot of her music videos, she's very much propped up and very much the center of things. But I do think that in this piece, she's much less so than what we've seen in the past with her, and especially in Formation, I thought, as well. I completely agree with that. I mean, I thought it was really powerful. The images of all of the women, I love looking at all of those women all of the time in the videos. Like I fell in love. I really did. I was just like, God, you know, like just look at all of these beautiful women all of the time in this video. And you know, I think that, and it almost made me, right? It almost made me feel like, I don't even want any maleness in here. Sorry, man. I know, but you know, but it made me feel like that. It made me feel like, look at how beautiful this is. There's no men around. It's just these beautiful women, and they're just engaging with each other in all these different ways. And
men are
you know,
they're just
being who they are. Yeah,
they're part of the narrative.
And men are. And you're right. And men are there. And, you know, and oh, absolutely. But it made me feel like what could happen if they weren't even part of the narrative? Like, it made me ask that question, like, what's possible if we get to a place where our narrative doesn't always have to include men? It's just a question. I know that we're intricately and integrally connected to the men in our communities, whether they're our family members or our coworkers or whoever they are, you know, but I just wonder, because I think there's something so special about it and we don't see it enough. And going back to, I think one of you guys brought up, you know, sort of like J-Lo and seeing, you know, not seeing enough of that kind of like sisterhood, at least visually, I guess.
I think
we could talk about whether it's actually existing.
This was to me there's
just something really beautiful about that.
It was the visual kind of personification of the Bechdel test. You're right. It wasn't really about the women were kind of joining with each other, and it was about them. You know, I think what she's done, and I'm going to go on a limb and say I think it's historic. She has cracked open the African American woman for me. All of a sudden, you didn't see her as a role. You didn't see her as a stereotype. You saw her full humanity. And it was absolutely breathtaking. And I don't think anyone's ever done it. I've seen it done in text. I've seen it done in books, but I've never seen it visually. I was looking at a fully dimensional person. She wasn't sexy. She wasn't strong. She wasn't the I can do it all by myself woman. You know, she wasn't any of those monikers that they get. She was actually like a fully developed person. And I think that's one of the, I'm going to say it. I think she was the only one that I've ever
multi-dimensional. It showed many different sides.
Well,
go ahead.
And that's the thing. And sorry, go ahead, Linda, and I'll go after you. Well, I was just going to say that I think that's one of the struggles that we're having as women of color is, do we have to fit model A? Do we have to fit model B? Do we have to fit model C? And sometimes we're model A, and sometimes we're model B, and sometimes we're model B and C, and sometimes we're A and B. And I think that, and this is where I try to like check myself on the Serena, on the Serena section, because I was reading something and it sort of made me push back on my own thinking about, and this goes back to what Maria was saying, she's sort of demonized and, about her figure, about her body. But she is a very sexual woman. And, just because I see her as this, sort of like elite, athletic, poised, amazing person and figure, does not mean that she's still not a woman. Does not mean that she still does not have the, that she does not have the physical needs, the emotional needs, the mental needs that any woman has. Right. And I think that there's layers of that happening all the time, which is why, that idea that Beyonce revealed herself as this multidimensional, multi-layered person, entity,
right. Can we
so
talk a little bit about
she's not on the surface anymore.
That badass track with she comes out with the yellow dress.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
Hold up.
Oh,
hold up,
okay.
What?
The second one, right? What? With the back?
Yes.
I struggled with that one.
We talked a little bit, Siri and I talked a little bit about it. I think it was on Facebook. What was that a contradiction? Why the bat?
Mm-hmm.
But she was in obviously this spirit goddess. But from what I read, that she changes up like that if she's messed with, right? Mm-hmm. That she
don't we all? Right. I think that's the point. Right. The point is that we're all capable of doing that. We're all capable of swinging a bat on your head while we're smiling.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I think part of the issue of it with me is that, Oshun is still a female deity that's a religious figure for people. And, I don't know to what degree Beyonce is interested or practices or is getting into Santeria or Candomblé or anything like that. So, so that was one thing that I sort of was like, oh, I don't know, this might, this might not sit well with people who really, sort of practice and believe and participate in Santeria. I didn't know Oshun as well as other people did. So the sort of the background that I had on Oshun was the loving, caring, sort of like matriarchal kind of background. But the yellow and the water all made perfect sense, right? But then the violence didn't seem to make sense with that. But then as I did some further reading with some of the articles that were posted, it seems that she does have that capability, and the goal is not to let her get to that place, right? That's always seems to be the goal in taking care of her and praising her and that kind of thing. But I thought it was a very interesting choice.
I heard that she has traveled to Cuba.
But yeah, I don't know because I don't know her relationship to it. Yeah. I've traveled to Cuba. I didn't get any. I had more of a experience with Candomblé in Brazil than I had when I went to Cuba, and I didn't come back thinking necessarily that I could take on these gods and goddesses. I don't know.
That's like I said at the beginning.
That's the question that I'm posing.
She is just completely, using Linda's word, evolving and completely unfolding as a very holistic way. So artistically, spiritually, emotionally, politically. So I am, because it's so resonant and because it was so powerful and because it was so deliberate. Like, I don't think there's anything throwaway here. I don't think that there's anything that wasn't thought out here. And obviously, we talked a little about her being like, she has obviously a really immensely talented team. She's working with really talented artists. And here's an interesting thing, right? This is something that's very gendered because we know that to do a work of this magnitude, and even just to do an album, forget about even something of this with this many layers and this many, and it's multimedia, that an artist has to work with other artists. And so but people are using that to kind of second guess her brilliance here. And yet she's the one who's choosing to work with these people. So I feel if she was a man, this would not be in question.
If she was a man,
I rarely hear when Bono does something amazing, people like, wow, but you know, he had that director and he had that producer, and he had that. So it's not really you know, but when it's a woman and a black woman,
but we're talking about somebody.
I disagree because she's never done this before. She's never done this. I have not gotten this full experience from her before. And if you look at her list of, if you look at her team, these are Sundance people. These her creative director, the one that oversees the project.
But she selected them. And I think if you look at her last album,
it's a co-direction.
But if you look at her last album, you can see the evolution. Because she did a visual album for her last album. So this, what she did right now, the quality of it is another level.
Yes, she did.
Another level. But in terms of her growth as an artist and in terms of what she's doing both artistically and entrepreneurially, she did this at the last album. So if you look at the last album and this, like, you could see the trajectory here.
Well, I think the thing is that again, you know, we're looking at the body of work pre 2010, let's say, and the body of work between 2010 and 2006, right? So that I think that's the evolution that we're talking about. It's a little bit hard with this to solely give the credit to Beyonce because she has a I know. You know, because the body of work that she had been attached to previously, again, I think we've all acknowledged, you know, has been very very on the surface. And now she's showing a greater depth. And I think we all agree that part of that greater depth is that she's surrounding herself with people who are going deeper with her, right? They're not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're going deeper for her, you know, but I would say that they're going deeper with her. They're taking her deeper. They're maybe, you know, looking at some of her ideas and seeing where they can take it to the next level. But Linda's absolutely right. I mean, these people that worked on this project are amazing people, you know, and
like
that's how I feel.
The way
the spoken word is better than her lyrics. I'm sorry.
But here's an interesting thing too. The way people talk about
the lyrics, like, come on.
Like, you know, her last album, she used, you know, she quoted Chimimanda, right? And then album she used a lot of work by Warsan Shire. But it's interesting, right? Because a lot of people's initial impulse is to say, oh, that Beyonce is introducing these people to other people. No, her base already knows these people. This is why she's using them. The women, the women who she's primarily targeting, you know, that this is a love letter to, already know who these people are. That's why she's using. That's why they're her fans. So there's like this notion, and as she's growing and she's showing that I think that she's also learning from her audience. I think that she's an artist that is listening to her audience and is also learning from them. I think there's a dialogue going on here. I don't think this is just her speaking to them. I think there's a conversation happening here between her and some aspect of her fan base. I'm not necessarily and I'm not necessarily talking, and I think this is why the or the agency or whatever you want to call them, this is why they are so protective and defensive of her.
Yeah, she's out.
Can we read Angelique's comment?
These are very literate people who know who these people are.
Sophia, you only have audio right now.
Like they're watching Lemonade and can see
poor internet signal.
They can see the influence of Daughters of the Dust in this film.
I think every artist needs help.
I'm only getting part of it.
When it's something at this scope. When you when you're going to write your memoir, or whatever kind of book you're going to write, you're going to want the best editor. And this is what she's done. She surrounded herself with people who can help her with people who can help her. What is that? That's Linda amplified.
Probably me.
So,
I don't know.
You know, the spoken word to me was just as important as anything else in this piece. It was powerful, and that with the visuals already brought me in. And whatever extra she gave me, which was her vulnerability, which she brought to the project, was authenticity and vulnerability. And I had never seen that before coming from her. And I always said, this girl is so shallow. Everything about her is just, you gotta look at, you know, that whole album where it was all about sex. And maybe there was a problem, not that that's a problem, you know, the, what is that, partition and all that. Maybe there was some part of her that was looking to play with that sexual side of herself. But this here was the first time that I felt her, because she can't act.
No, she cannot.
I mean,
I know, but I did feel her conveying something in this album that I had never seen in previous acting work that she's done before. Like, I was just watching her facial expressions, and I was just like, she's working, you know. And again, it may have been coming from a very true place, and it may have been rooted in her own pain and her own vulnerability, you know. But I agree. I think that there was something. I mean, she was listen. It's not that she didn't bring anything to the table. I cannot say that, and I don't feel comfortable saying that. And it's not that she, you know, she's singing, you know, she's got her voice that she's lending to this. She's got her ideas. She's got her own aspect of the story. I think the brilliance is that you took someone who had, you know, X, Y, and Z things, and you gave them A, B, and C things, and it just took the entire project
a little bit, because
to the next
you know,
level.
I think everybody forgets that you can have the most brilliant team in the world, Sundance Award winners. You could bring it to a really dumb artist. You would never find this level artistry.
And it'd be crap.
You know, exactly. Yeah. He was the captain of that ship. Let's give credit where credit is due. She knew exactly. She knew how to tie those themes. She was able to pull it off. She imbued those themes with her own vulnerability, as you said, Linda. She was the captain of that ship. And I think anything else, did she pick a great crew? Hell yeah. Did she know when to chart those waters? Hell yeah. But was that her leading that ship? Hell yeah.
I mean, look at the fact that this is her second visual album, and nothing ever gets leaked. That's respect.
Oh, that's true too.
Well, listen. That's lawyers. That's money. You pay a lot of people. What is that? Non-disclosure.
I don't think it was stopping.
That's money.
I think.
Yeah.
The respect of wanting to work with her. I don't think money will stop anybody from leaking anything. I think.
Well, there were people who were called.
Stop anyone.
There were people that were called late. Like they didn't, you know, they came in late, last minute. That's what I mean. And yeah, and like you know, I guess you have to do that with this kind of project. It is hard to do that, and I give her credit for finding a way on the internet to work the audience. She got me, and I'm the worst critic. But can we talk a little bit more about, before it gets any later, about why we don't have our own damn version?
Yes. I have my theory, but you guys go first.
Please tell me. No. I want to hear your theory.
The reason, let it say, can everybody hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Not really.
Can you? You're really low.
Let me.
Yeah, it's very low.
Can you hear me now?
The closer you get to the mic, the better it is.
Okay. That might be really funny now. But here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My theory, first of all,
yes,
I know that we have the talent in our community to pull something like this off. And I suspect that in Latin America, there might be folks doing things like this.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Latinos in the United States, I know that we have the talent, but I think that the reason why we haven't done something similar to this is because we still think that whiteness is an option for us. We still believe that white is mainstream and that we can win white folks over. And so we care too much about performing for the white gaze. And whereas African American folks, for the most part, especially know that, you know, we can't assimilate. So we're gonna create our own. We're gonna create for us. And if these folks want to appreciate it and they want to buy it and they want to, so be it. But we're not doing this for them. And I still feel that Latinos in the United States, especially artists, still are very colonized and still believe that, you know what, I might be able to get white people to like me. And so have the political consciousness and just the artistic courage to do something like this. Do we have talent? Sure we can. Sure we have the talent. But we don't have the gumption. That's my thing. I still think that Black, Indigenous, white, we still feel like we can make white people like us. And so we worry too much about what they think. That's my thing.
I think there's a couple of layers of things going on here. I would venture to say that some of this type of art is already out there. But it doesn't have the reach. It doesn't have the money. It doesn't have the kind of marketing that someone like Beyonce has, right? So I agree. I think the talent is completely there. I think that there are people who are probably already doing a lot of this kind of work. Now, I see sort of like a few different trajectories with artists. I see artists who are true to their art from the beginning, and they somehow it works for them and they are able to make a career out of their art, their style, the stories that they're telling. And then there are other artists who go very commercial very early on, have a lot of that success, which is, I think, what happened with Beyonce. And now that there is success and money and power there is freedom there to do what she could do, whatever she wants. She can do whatever she wants. I'm glad that she's choosing to do very interesting things right now, but she could do whatever she wants. I think that with Latinos, yeah, I think we're in a well, the Latinos who have the fame, right? So we're talking about Latinos who have the same kind of exposure, let's say, that Beyonce does. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know if it's maybe they're not, maybe that's not their story. Maybe they're not connected to that story. I do not know, maybe they're still waiting for a seat at the table or just happy with their little seat at the table. And so everything is gonna, kind of, go around that, and they don't want to push too many buttons and they don't want to push people away and they're afraid of losing fans and whatever the whole business is. But I think that there's a lot, that our people are, that are big name stars who have the reach, who have the money, who have the ability to market a project like this, who have the connections to put together something like this. They're just not, they're not doing it.
She's the only one.
Jennifer Lopez, she is the only one. I agree. She is the only one, but she's got the money. She's got the marketing. She has the connections, but she doesn't have the interest in the story. That's not a story. Listen, we've had numerous discussions about Jennifer Lopez. I don't know if Jennifer Lopez is going to tell that story.
Is reading Warsaw Shire on her spare time, or is she making little videos with her boyfriend?
Oh no! No, listen.
Because that's the other part.
Yeah.
She does a project. And everybody bitched that she did the project wrong. We talked about this. Al cantante. Every time she attempts to do something,
yeah.
But
she's criticized.
Yes.
But the heck
Yes.
not that. She did it. She can't do it as a vanity project.
Right.
She didn't.
That's what your opinion is of it.
With the deference that it should have been approached with. Let me and Mark go get ourselves some Oscars, and it wasn't really about.
I don't know. I don't believe that. I don't believe that when you everything she had to go through to get that project done, it wasn't. Of course, there's a little selfishness in it. You know, she's the lead, but also let's not forget. We talked about this before that the script was about Hector Lavoe's wife, or the script that came to her was that was her story. So it makes sense that she would want to, you know. Anyway, let's not talk about J-Lo.
No. Honestly, the question is,
well, I mean, right. But the other thing too is that when are we going to take the risk?
What story
who's
are
taking
we
the risk to even
fall?
Part of it. Taking the risk
resonate with every fucking body in America.
We're not.
Yeah.
That's the
yeah. Well, but that's the other problem. That's the other problem is that, you know. But that's what, and that's what a lot of the, when people were coming out, we can't hear you.
Because you know what, if Latinos made a project that was like, you know what, we're gonna keep this to Latinos and some African Americans and maybe some Caribbean Asians who get us or whatever, the project would succeed 50 times over. But we keep working to be successful that we need white viewership, and that.
Why
we need money?
Why is it possible? Why is it we need money, but why is it possible for people to say, and I'm not against this commentary at all, but you know, right now the commentary is that lemonade is for Black women, unapologetically. That's who it's for. It doesn't matter if white women relate to it. It doesn't matter if Latinas relate to it. It doesn't matter who relates to it. It is unapologetically for African-American women. There's something very powerful about that. And it doesn't need the support. Now, it's nice when it gets the support, but it doesn't need the support. I don't know.
Which the play, the rainbow with the colored girls. It's the same thing. We've seen these moments.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So what happens when an artist stands up and say, you know what, I'm going to make this art and this art is for my people and that's it. And it will become a story that's universal or it will not become a story that's universal. I don't think.
I made the example of the Joy Luck Club.
It's not just
it became universal. Yeah.
And this story.
No, it's about sisterhood too.
Yeah, it's about a lot.
Yeah, Linda's right.
Universal. But being told through the very specific lens, it's not even only an African-American woman's lens, but it's an African-American Southern woman's lens. So it's
that's the backdrop.
We're all understand this, that you get to the universal through the specific.
Right.
The reason why Lemonade has been able to resonate with people outside of African-American women is because she was unapologetic and fearless about making it for them. So by that specific, there's something for every for a lot. So one of my issues with the conversation around who can talk about it, who can whatever, is that we keep framing it as either or. It's not either or. The fact that Beyonce made this for her core audience, for other African American women, is precisely why it works for people who are not African American women. The conversation was really about who gets to lead the conversation. And we got to, and all the African American women were asking is like, let us lead the conversation. Lived experience, we know more about it. So, like, Maria.
Yeah.
You have made a really good analogy that I want to build on. And the analogy that you had made on Facebook was like, well, you know, it's almost like, okay, someone, you know, threw an outdoor party. Yeah, you know, it's gated, but it's out there and I'm walking by and I can still see it and I can still hear it. And even though I wasn't invited to the party. I'm hearing it, I'm seeing things, and I want to enjoy it. And I think it's a perfect analogy. What I would add to it is that so you as the person outside the party can enjoy it, but if you're somebody who's looking in through the window and you see blue decor and you're like, oh, they shouldn't have done the blue decor. They should have went with yellow and much what was this. That's when it becomes a problem. On the outside, and maybe blue decor because blue is meaningful to the people for who the party was for and who created the party.
Right.
Take your analogy to that's better. It's like, I don't think, yes, there are some people who are just like, fuck y'all, this is ours. But we're not, there are people who are saying, we're not saying that. It's like, you can enjoy this.
Yeah.
And it should touch you. But don't erase us from it because it wouldn't exist without us.
Right.
And listen to what we have to say about it because you, again, not only do you have to put this in the historical context where we love Black cultural production without loving Black people, but we also put it in recent history where, again, Black women do things and create things and are pathologized and are shamed for it, and then white women appropriate it and they get celebrated. So you very again, and this is it's the social media manifestation of what has been going on the misogynoir that has been going on since day one, because you have all these white women writing for Jezebel and BuzzFeed and what have you, and these are the same women who have attacked Beyonce. Why is she doing it? You know, these are the same women who have attacked Amanwa. These are the same women who have attacked Zendaya, who have attacked Serena, and now they want to say, well, what about us? Well, what about you?
And I think just to bring it back to like
discuss it. So that's the issue, and that's why I got really mad at that Catarina Sardi piece, whining about, well, I'm a light brown skin Latina and I want to, and I'm like, Mama, you already know that if you got to position yourself every other sentence as a light brown skin Latina, you already know that what you're doing is wrong. You already know that what you're saying is fucked up.
No, but to Sophia, the whole thing is, to be honest with you, because there really was, and there were in a couple of think pieces, this feeling that you really couldn't give an opinion if you weren't an African American woman. The point that you're making is valid. The point that you're making about you can't leave us out of the conversation is absolutely valid. You know what? Piers Morgan, I mean, he's an idiot. I get it. But it had gotten to the point where they were so exclusionary and so insular about it that I felt like everybody's reaching back to see if they have an African American grandmother so they can be part of the conversation. You know? It was like, can the Asians come over?
Well, I feel bad. I feel bad when that happens because it's like I think some people are not like, the intention is not to derail the conversation. The intention is not to pull away the conversation. I mean, I think for some people, the hope is to participate in the conversation. I totally respect that, the sort of the positioning on who it's for. I totally respect Black women wanting to feel like they want the agency to be able to direct and lead the conversation. Absolutely. But I think sort of going back to what we were talking about in terms of Latinas' ability to do this type of project, I think we need to get out of the, not to say that we can't think about who our audience is, but I think that we need to get out of the mindset that we have to be appealing to an audience, every audience, some audience. I mean, you have to eventually, figure out what the art is and put it forward and see what the hell happens. We can't sit back, I think, as Latinos, and we do have some really incredible stories to tell. We can't sit back and wait for permission, right? We've been talking about that over and over again, about this idea of waiting for permission. We can't sit back and constantly have to reevaluate, is this right for this audience? Is this right for that audience? What if I alienate this person? What if I alienate that person? It'll never get done. it'll never happen. And you know what? Jennifer's making me laugh. And you know what? The reality is that the project in its entirety is not solely Black. There were plenty of white people working on that project, white women, white men behind the scenes. We may not have seen them, right? But they were there. They were part of the conversation. They were part of the choices, right? So we can't pretend that although the imagery was distinctly and unapologetically and very beautifully Black, that this was a solely an all Black project, right? So then there's also that I'm starting to think about now, as well as we're talking about all of this. I think that people who are trying to derail the conversation need to be put in their place. And I think that, or stay in their lane or take their seat or, have a few seats. But I think that we can't be afraid to have conversations, and we can't be afraid to participate in, we're all making meaning out of this project. And none of us identify specifically as a Southern African American woman, right? And we all are watching this and making meaning of it because, and I think, Sophia, you said this, something about in its specificity, it still seemed to reach, right? Because there were other things there that Linda talked about pain, about anger, about, all those universal themes, right? But so the theme is universal, but the lens is specific, right? And somehow,
because you know what, I think we get too hung up on. Somehow. If I tell a Mexican story, will the Caribbean people understand it? If I tell a Colombian story, will the Mexicans get it? We're still very fractured, and I don't think we have that cohesive unity. I
don't hear you.
Yeah, no, I can't hear you, Sophia. Sorry,
I can't hear you, Sophia.
I think it's because part of it is that we are such a fractured kind of regionalistic people. So I think we do get caught up in like, well, who's our, will our story resonate and what our market? And I think you have to kind of begin like they give, that piece of advice they give all beginning writers: write what you know and start from there. Sorry, Sophia's cracking me up.
Right.
I don't know what you said.
So can we say the album is for African American women, but universal in its story of the oppressed women of color? I agree with that. Angelique.
And can we say even more so that it's about all oppressed women too? I think it's just.
I can't hear you.
Sophia, we can't hear you.
There's no sound.
Yes, Maria, I agree. I think that some of those universals about betrayal, about love, about loss, about rehabilitation, about self-love, that those are those universal themes that every woman, I think many women, so that we're not sort of doing broad generalizations, right? But many women experience all of those things. So our story might be set in a different place, in a different language, at a different time, right?
But also, I don't think Elizabeth Gilbert sat back and said to herself, I'm telling a very white story about going to Italy and eating pasta. I wonder if it'll resonate. She just told her friggin' story, and every type of woman got it. I think that's the colonized mindset.
But she has
Sophia's dying to talk.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
I know. She's gonna have to type it.
But you know what I'm saying?
She's on the phone.
I do think that whole consternation about who's our audience and will they get it, that's part of the colonized mindset, to be honest with you. Elizabeth Gilbert didn't worry whether she can get it.
Yes.
She just writes it.
Yes. Absolutely. I think some people don't worry. A lot of artists don't have time. If they're really committed, I guess, to the art, they can't spend always time worrying about who's going to get it, who's not going to get it, or the art will never get made. It just will never get made. I think it would never get made if you got stuck there. Who's going to get it?
No, let's not forget just to cover the Latina magazine thingy.
Well, Latina magazine continues to be on the wrong side of history. That is what I will say. They published a couple of years ago making Beyonce an honorary Latina. I've been so at a loss for words with this organization for like decades now. I don't even know. And the funny thing is that you were right, Linda. That article is older, and somehow it recirculated. Someone found it, or someone posted it, or they did.
And then
not surprising.
Recycled it.
And then of course it went off by wildfire.
Last year,
it was because it did exactly what people didn't want it to do, which is erase this black woman again, right? I mean, that Malcolm X speech in the video, like, come on, did you watch it? Did you watch it, Latina magazine?
Exactly.
No, right? You just saw.
They were like, wait a minute, we have something relevant, and then they drug up something from 2000.
It connects. Oh God, they were more of a disservice.
Honestly,
to
look,
any Latino agenda
publication.
I don't know what.
They're just horrible.
Jeez.
And I think, well, not only that, they're purposely out of touch.
Yeah,
they're purposely out of touch. Because they make,
yeah. Because
I
don't think that they deal with
they
the
don't
criticism,
care. They
right?
don't care two shits about what we think about them.
That's why it's and that's why they're purposely out of touch,
how they work inside. Because I can pick up Essence magazine month after month and be inspired by that magazine. I pick up Latina magazine and I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? I don't know. I don't know why that is. Why can't they just, I don't know if it's a demographic. I have no idea why that magazine for so many years hasn't changed, hasn't evolved.
Well, they've been on the market now. This is their 20th anniversary this year, right? This is their 20th anniversary, because if I remember correctly, they started in 1996, no?
Yes, it was
around this time.
Yes.
Right?
I was writing
mid 90s. So this magazine has been around for 20 years, and they continue to recycle the same thing. And what I don't know is who's reading their magazine, because somebody's reading, right? Somebody's entertained or engaged by by this magazine. And I think you're right. I don't think that they're in touch. I don't think that they listen to criticism. I don't think that they care, and maybe they don't care because they haven't established leadership.
The magazine is run the way it does is a parallel to why I don't think we can kind of, as a community, pull off something like the Beyonce film.
That's true too. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah.
Yes, and
it is sad.
That's sad.
It is sad, and I think.
All right, let's not get more.
Everybody's like.
I know. And not some kind of positivity. Sophia, did you get your sound? She's trying. I can read lips. Poor thing.
Does anybody have any questions?
And I know she's had so much to say.
Anything, we'll read them.
Yeah.
I know Angelique's been, and George has been.
1996 is the year.
1996? Okay. She's like, Sophia, restart your PC.
Poor thing.
Can we? You know what? Are there any more of the issues that we want to touch on with the Beyonce actual film? I mean, we kind of went to the track.
Let me see.
Well, you know what? Can I ask a question? What did you guys think about Beyonce using the mothers of the murdered kids? Because there's a lot of people that it was.
I was really touched.
That it was. Well, that's what Morgan said.
I'm losing you, Maria, a little bit. There's an echo.
What do you guys think about using
Go ahead, say that
the
again.
mothers of the murdered kids in the video? Do you think it was powerful? Do you think it was necessary? Do you think it was exploitive?
Let me tell you what I loved about that in terms of structure. He goes into this whole heartbreak, and then she starts becoming, she starts talking bad about men, right? Then it becomes why though are the men this way? So then you see the kid talking in the car, and you see the streets, and then you see the kids playing out in the street, and it becomes about childhood, why men are that way, and then it evolves into this whole, she doesn't stay negative with the men, she changes it up, and then honors the men. And so what she's saying is, Black men have a really hard time in America. Not to say that it's an excuse for her husband to do what he's doing, but I love that bridge, that connection from I'm pissed at my fucking husband, why is he this way, to this is what Black men do. And I love that connection. And okay, maybe we're not getting the full picture, but it is, she's trying to do something positive with it. Everything in this piece was about ending on a positive note. No matter how angry, no matter how much you've been hurt, it's about positivity. So I didn't have a problem. I got very emotional, especially, I think it was, who was it? Was it Mike Brown's mom?
She couldn't look at the camera.
She was crying. Yeah.
And funny, sorry.
I mean, I think for me,
let me just say really quickly. I took it. It's funny. I didn't see the subtext that you're talking about, Linda. What I saw was, in keeping in line with kind of like this talking about femininity. You know, I think what she was saying is, listen, to these cheating men, you're not just cheating on a woman. You're cheating on the mother of your children. When we kind of join up with you, and we bear your children, we're going down this journey with you. This is the risk that we're taking, and this is how you're repaying. That's how I took it anyway.
I didn't get that. I didn't get what you said.
No, just saying that,
say that last part.
In an appeal to cheating men, kind of saying, you forget that we're also the mother of your children. That we've created something together.
I think it was twofold. I think it actually touched on that. I agree with you, but I also think it showed the other side of man. I fell in love with the structure of this piece, and you knew someone who knew storytelling, and I'm not sure it's her.
I don't think it is.
I don't think she could piece this whole thing together. You're not going to tell me that she sat there and created the arc, created the, she had someone help her co-director, the creative director. They sat down more or less like what we did. What we do when we put together plays, and there's a bunch of us collaborating, there's somebody overseeing it, but everybody has input.
You know what?
Yeah, I think, go ahead.
I want to see the mothers all the time. I want to see the pictures all the time. I never want to forget those spaces. In recent, every time, I'll be very honest with you, when Amadou Diallo was killed, that was the first experience that I had that rocked my world about what was possible. I know that it had happened before. I know that young brothers had died at the hands of police officers before. I knew that it wasn't new, but that was the one that rocked me. And every time we lose one of these young men, it's like a post-traumatic stress, and I go right back there. Holy cow, right? So I think it's important that I think it's important that we continue to honor and value and pay some kind of homage to these mothers, to their slain sons, to the kind of loss that communities are facing over and over and over again. As an educator, there hasn't been, in the last 5 or 6 years, there hasn't been a September that we don't come back to school with some slain child
and folks, to
talk about.
Yes.
Okay. And so, and so I'm gonna stop talking there because I want to hear Sophia. But I think those images are important. I think the mothers, we need to see them. We need to see them all the time. And I think that they're part of our community, and we have to ask ourselves, what does happen to these mothers?
Yeah,
You know, what does happen to them when they're no longer
okay, wait, Rachel
in the
said,
mix?
I worked at Latina Mag 12 years ago, loved it, then I disconnected from the brand, so I moved on. I'm not back at the brand. I'm now back at the brand freelancing. I chose not to comment on the editorial product and the fact that you ladies feel like you don't get it right. However, I will say that it is the most inspiring office I've ever stepped foot in. Women walk through those doors and an opportunity, whatever it may be, is handed to them. Business owners, politicians, playwrights.
Okay. I've heard other ones, to be honest with you.
And
people
also bring up La Lupe as a potential, like, the artist who could have, you know, done something like this had she existed in in this age with this technology and with these opportunities. The honorary Latina thing, first of all, like, it's bullshit. To even to say honorary anything, what does that mean? Honorary Latina status to an African American woman, and you don't even acknowledge all the Latinas in your own community.
I can see that, but honestly, honorary Latina, we say that joking around. I'm not, you know, taking sides, but sometimes we tell a white person that they're an honorary Latina.
And I have a problem with that. I don't feel like anybody should be saying anyone's an honorary anything. You know, Bill Clinton was not our first black president. You know, like, so I have it's also like when Prince passed, you know, the first thing that people wanted to say was that he transcended race without realizing how fucking offensive that is. And I think the whole notion of honorary anything is in the same line as that transcending race thing, especially when you're talking about, you know, do you even really understand Beyonce? Why are you making her an honorary Latina? So you're basically trying to say that, why couldn't you just say, this is why Latinas love Beyonce? That's a different thing than making her an honorary Latina, erasing her blackness and specifically her African American.
And I think that it points to the struggle that Latinas and African American women continue to have with each other. You know, that there's this competition, right, between, we can't just appreciate Beyonce for being an African American woman. We have to somehow make her Latina-ish, which goes to all these Latino lists that they create because they need to call someone Latino to, you know, satisfy some need. You know, but it you know, she's not Latina, and that's okay. And we should be able to appreciate her in, you know, in all of who she is. And I think, Sophia, you're absolutely right. Before we start making people honorary Latina, let's be real about who the Latinas actually are in our community. You know, I think, Linda, it was your challenge earlier that you know, got some of us really inspired and talking about the fact that, you know, they've never consistently even put an Afro-Latina on their cover for consecutive months, for, you know, so they can't even acknowledge Afro-Latinos, the Africanness in our own culture and community, but yet they're making it okay to erase this woman's blackness, give her some kind of, you know, Latin flavor. And then, you know, that's opposed to, you know, share and share alike or whatever their thinking was on that. But it's disruptive. It's disruptive to the kind of work that Latinas and African American women are doing to try to build solidarity with each other. It's the opposite of what we're trying to do. You know, if our goal is to have that solidarity.
Because they're not in touch with their own negritude either.
Right.
That's, you know, that's part of it. And willing to embrace the fact that many Latinos are part of the African diaspora. So that is their own as much as they want to embrace Beyonce, that is just them really hanging out their anti-blackness for everybody to see.
You realize we haven't any Afro-Latinas honorary.
What was that?
There's one thing that I want to say. I know we moved on this topic already, so I'm going to keep it brief. But it's about the whole thing of the issue, because, you know, I think it was in response to, this is where people say, like, Sophia looked mad. I was mad because I cut out of the conversation, and there was something that I wanted to say about that, because we talked about Elizabeth Gilbert, right? And I had an issue. I vehemently disagree with that. I vehemently disagree with saying, well, you know, Elizabeth Gilbert, as a white woman, has access that Black women don't have. And so when we talk about the whole conversation about who can talk about this and who's centered in the conversation, who gets paid to talk about it, it's a false equivalency to bring up Elizabeth Gilbert. It's a false, Piers Morgan shouldn't even have anything to say, but just have nothing to say. And the playing field is not level. It's the fact that Black women can create something and it has to be for everybody, right? And meanwhile, the assumption is, we make the assumption that it tells us that we're still working on this, we're still operating on this idea that white is universal. So that if somebody, my big fat Greek wedding, right? Again, a perfect example of something that was really specific, that resonated across a lot of people. But nobody ever says, but that's for everybody. It only became a conversation about, well, who's it for? We have to seize it and lay claim to it. And we're so sensitive about not being centered because it was something that was created by Black women. What's wrong with that? We don't do that with everybody else. And that is at the root of that. What the root of that is, again, making the assumption that just because it centers Black women, it's again not acknowledging their humanity, because and acknowledging that and assuming that white is mainstream. Why can't it be something that's very specifically about Black women and still be considered universal without us having to cannibalize it? Is all I'm saying.
Because
I think so different things though.
I'm just saying, like, because what Black women were concerned about, and this is all I want to say, because I know that we passed this, but I just want to say this. What Black women was concerned about is who's going to get paid to write these think pieces and what is their expertise. And they are not allowed to be the experts in their own lives. And that's what the issue is.
Yeah, but you're talking about race. But what you also have to, I understand the whole thing about universal. I hate the whole universal talk and mainstream shit. It all means the same thing. But what they mean when they tell you that is, how much more can we sell? We want to sell to more people. We don't want to sell to a small audience. Now economics comes into the picture. It's not just about telling stories. It's about making money. And Beyonce has gotten to a point where she can tell the stories and make the money.
Right.
And she's learning how to control the distribution, learning how to control her own pockets. So it isn't just about story, which is why when we start to write our stories, we go crazy thinking about, well, which way are we going to go? And how can we appease those people that are going to put money into us, into our projects? There is a part of that we cannot be blind to. It isn't just about, let me tell my story, fuck you all, I want you to publish my story. I want you to buy my story. It's more than that. And here's the other thing. We can have those stories, but they have to be told in a way that will resonate with everyone. So, what Maria was saying about Elizabeth Gilbert is that she didn't set out to do this blockbuster novel. It just resonated with so many people. Okay, fine, she's white, she's very intelligent, but I got to tell you, I love the fuck out of that book. That book is
what I'm trying to say is that Elizabeth Gilbert, by virtue of being white, didn't have to worry about it. She was able to just write the book.
No, she is outrageously talented. We can't get to a point where we go, well, that white person made it, because there's so many white people that deserve what they get.
I'm talking about the power differential and the power structure and white privilege, because they do have more access. We can't.
You're right. You do.
They do. Us for not stepping our game up. I'm not using it as an excuse for us for not being on point in our craft. Please understand that that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But what I'm saying is we're acting like all we got to do is do what they do, and that we're going to cross over. And that's all I'm just saying. And that we all have the same opportunities. We don't.
Right.
We don't.
But that's
even more why what Stevie says is important about we eventually got to the point where we say, fuck them and figure out a way to do it anyway and do it ourselves. That's what makes what Siri says even more important. And it brings up to what also Maria says about what I can watch a Mexican movie and it resonate with me, even though I'm not Mexican. So I just think if it's well done, if the craft is on,
to be well done.
If the craft is on point, I can, and this is what I wanted. This is what I was saying before I lost connection. Is all of us have talked about this, and let's put it out there and let's be honest, right? Latino artists in general, like in terms of what gets ahead, let me be fair again, because I want to put it in social political context.
Okay.
Who gets to get ahead? It's not necessarily the best artist. It's not, Frank fucking Reyes has 3 feature films under his belt. Is he the best motherfucker out there? He's just making Scarface Redux. Okay? So it's about who in the current configuration of who got power in the entertainment industry is given opportunities. And what are they giving opportunities to? The same old stereotypical bullshit.
Until someone breaks the mold. It's until someone breaks the mold.
And we have to do it. And that goes back to what Siri says. We got to do it ourselves.
But can I just say something really quickly, Sophia? This is where, as much as we don't like the universal, this is where the reality of the show business comes in. Because until such time as white does not equal universal for the white executives, our shit's never going to get made. Because they see us as niche, they see us as core demographic, and they don't see us as having the potential to become universal. Even though we know, and even though all the studies have proven, and even though our books kind of tell a different story, that the niche, that the specificity leads to the universal, as long as in a marketing mindset it does not, our shit's never going to get made. And that's the fucking reality of it.
And I also want
until we're rich enough and powerful enough to just make it ourselves.
And then all of us to stop making fucking videos. Pick up a fucking picture book.
But this is why when we were talking about the Oscars, right? Look, and people were getting upset. It's 9:30, and people were getting up. Well, what are these Latinos complaining about? Because Alejandro is Latino. No, Alejandro's not Latino. Alejandro is Latin American. This is the way. This is how they get their nice, exotic Latin American flavor without putting on Latinos in the United States.
You're not putting Latinos in the movie. The bear
right, and he also represents a very sort of elite, white-esque Latino. From Mexico. I mean, that's the reality. So it suits the narrative that the Oscars want, but it doesn't necessarily push forward the stories that Latinos are trying to tell. Yes, it's 9:30.
But what stories are Latinos trying to tell?
We don't know yet because we haven't been able to tell them, I think.
Right? We talked about this. What stories are Latinos trying to tell? What's getting Vic Vaporub and chancleta jokes?
Right.
And Hispanic moms be like. Like, we're not pushing ourselves artistically to move forward.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. On the Latino, on the Latino theater stage, is there any revolutionary work being done? I, for example, love Soledad Speaks. I thought that was fantastic. I got the references, it moved me. I was freaking crying. I mean, it was a thing. I forgot the name of the author. Marco Antonio Rodriguez has done La Luz de un Cigarrillo, which I think is brilliant, which explores those topics. We have some great stuff being done on Latino theater stage, but we don't have, our infrastructure is not there. Our stuff doesn't move. We get, honestly, and no offense to Puerto Rican traveling theater, but what the fuck? Like, can you put on some shit with, like, substance? And so we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the funnel. We don't have the pipeline. We don't have any of the avenues. We don't even have, our stupid magazines don't even know how to, like, say, here's a rising star, because you know,
unless
any of the infrastructure that makes stars happen, or makes, you know, puts theater on the map. And then somebody like Lin-Manuel Miranda is on the map with Hamilton, which isn't a Latino story either, although he did In the Heights.
But he did In the Heights, and like I said, it closed a lot quicker.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't and it was a very Latino story. You know, funny thing happened very quickly with Soledad Speaks. When we put that show on, and it really was a workshop production. It was the idea. We were introducing the idea to the audience. And everybody in the audience would get up at the end of the show and say, we have to save this. I pay no attention to the audience anymore because I've heard from Latino audiences forever that they need to support a show.
Right.
No one in the audience, unless you are a multimillionaire, are going to put anything on. So we need big money. We don't need support from the... You think that Lin-Manuel is getting support? No, he's getting money. He's getting the opportunity to workshop his stuff at the public theater. And he's got that talent, that same level of talent that Beyonce had on her team. You have a team of people at the public theater who are workshopping your work.
Yeah.
And then you know, because he was workshopping that Hamilton for at least, what, he said 6 to 8 years?
Yeah.
So people have to understand, too, what it takes to develop a piece. It doesn't, overnight a piece is not magically finished. It takes the Lemonade took, I think, 6 months. They were in a bubble and they were working on that. So I don't think the audience understands, or our people understand, what it really takes. I think they think it's as simple as going to an office and going, here, you know, this is my project. Can you help me? No, it's political, because if the entire theater community doesn't embrace you or your project,
exactly,
you're gonna find it's very political, and you'll see it every day. Whose works are going up very often? What actors are working more often? You don't know how much that pisses me off. I've been very vocal about it, but it's the bullshit that is, because when you own a theater company, you're boss.
Yep.
It's who you say, who you want, and it doesn't matter. You know, I was told, I remember being in a meeting and I was told, I said something about the Puerto Rican traveling theater. And I was told, and I won't say who, that, well, you have to be at the shows. You have to support the shows as a playwright, as a person who writes. I have to go to all your shows? For you to look at me as a writer?
That's ridiculous.
That doesn't make any sense to me. What if I fucking lived in Florida?
Right.
So, you know, there's this weird thing in our community, especially in theater, that makes no sense to me. And I think it spills over to TV.
Yep.
And you know, it's horrible.
Listen, our theaters, our media, our publications are run like banana republics. It is, not only is it political, it is supremacist. It is about, you know, a certain like little clique that makes it, and they don't even care. You know, we've talked about the issue that representation has. Representation for us is huge. Look at what Beyonce's film did for the African American woman's identity. She humanized an entire subset of her community that had to this point been seen as either a piece of beauty or a piece of sexuality, and she humanized it, one visual piece. And our friggin', you know, theaters and publications and our TV and our films, you know, the infrastructure is not there. So they're completely, quite frankly, I don't excuse the language, but they're cock blocking an entire community because they don't know how to get their shit together. What the fuck? Sorry to scream.
Yes, but I think we should, I hate to want to say it, wrap up. It's late.
Yeah, we've gone well over time, and people have stood with us, and we're so grateful.
Yes, thank you.
Because I know we said from 8 to 9, and it is 9:38.
They post some questions. There's one point that I want to say that George brought up that's really important to put out here, because this is the other thing that happens again. That Lin-Manuel, you know, he's the chosen one, right? And when you're playing in these spaces where we do not have power, where we do not control the decisions, you know, there can only be just
we're like Highlander.
And me, in our community. This is why Jennifer Lopez the only person that has the talent in it, but she's probably the only one that has that level. She's not the only one who has that talent. And then, you know, in literature, it's Juno. And then in theater, it's Lin-Manuel. And it's the one person that becomes, you know, like, we got our Latino.
They do that with black.
We have that with
black comics.
We don't.
My husband says it all the time. When there was Eddie Murphy, it was Eddie Murphy. When there was Richard Pryor, it was Richard Pryor. And then when Chris Rock came along, it was Chris Rock. There was only room for one. But then look what's happened lately. See, we haven't hit our stride yet. Latinos in this country have not hit our stride. Once those projects come out more often, once we are able to tell our very diverse stories, then you're going to see. I don't think it's going to happen right away, but it's starting to happen.
Well, we have to have conversations like this.
Huh?
We have to have conversations like this. Pelos en la lengua. Otherwise, we've been saying, you know, we'll hit our stride. It's you know, the line keeps going farther and farther and farther. I'm sorry, we got to call people out and we got to say this is what's happening. Enough. You know,
yeah, you call some people out and they blackball you, so we got to be careful with that.
Blackball. Take your fucking blackball. Fucking handball. I'll throw it back.
And maybe we need to be a little bit more imaginative about what the work can look like, right? Because if the mainstream is not allowing us in, then that shouldn't be the only way we should be thinking about telling our stories. If NBC is not going to let us get a show on the air, then why are we keep knocking at NBC's door? We do blabs, we do web series, we do our own, and we cultivate our audience, and we do that. And I think, so like, back to Beyonce, right? She is pioneering this whole concept of like, I'm not going to just do music. I'm going to package the music, and I'm not going to just do music videos. I'm going to package the music with, you know, with these very well thought out and crafted and deliberate visual images and release it that way. So we need to innovate as well. And that's what, you know, that's one way that she can inspire people, any marginalized community across the board, in terms of let's think out the box instead of, now granted, she's at a different level. She does have access. She's been have access, but you know, we keep trying to knock on a door that's double bolted, and maybe we just need to say, fuck your door. We're going to go and build our own thing over here and be willing to do that. And I just think what we're doing is we keep competing with each other for the few crumbs, for that one slot to be the chosen
But also know,
and it's true, I forgot which one of you said it, about the gatekeepers, and you alluded to this, Linda, that's what happens. Certain people get into a position of power, and instead of bringing other people up, gatekeep and don't help. And don't give
But let's also look at the fact, too, that Black women are part of American history.
Yeah, that's true.
Latinos are not part of American history. We don't have a history together. We have separate history. So when it comes to the Black experience, I think that's more accepted. And it's evolved in time, too. Their story has evolved. They've had the chance to talk about what they've gone through for years now, where we haven't even put our foot in it yet, because we're trying to do it together. So again, it goes back to being very specific about the story you're going to tell. I agree with that. But I also think that we have to look at what works and what doesn't. We agree that universal themes work. Whether she's Puerto Rican, uneducated, or Puerto Rican, educated, whether she's Colombian, whatever she is, whatever he is, it definitely has to be universal themes in order for it to resonate with a lot of people. And what happens with a lot of our work is we get caught up in being completely us. And we're told to water ourselves down so that the audience. So here we go. You know, we're trying to be authentic, but we cannot be. So I don't feel we're ever going to, mean, there's works of literature that have done it. P.D. Thomas. I mean, we have works of literature that where it's specifically about that person, that ethnicity, that background, that culture, but it spoke to a lot of people. You know, I don't know. And I would hate to be the one to go, we need to work on ourselves. I believe we have a lot of talent here. I think this community has a lot of talent, but I also think we've had it really, really hard trying to get our projects out there.
Yeah.
You know, I had to do my projects by myself in order to do anything. And after a while, that becomes tiring. And then you have then you have these media outlets that it's sort of, they treat you like Tyler Perry. Because, you know, when Tyler Perry was doing his thing in the beginning, nobody was paying attention until all those people started coming to church and watching those. And then all of a sudden he blew up, you know, but then the industry didn't take him seriously, or his peers didn't take him seriously because it wasn't quality work. What the fuck? You know, it's late. My dog is next. I love you, girls.
I love you.
It's 9:40.
All right, 9:45.
I don't know what
That's a good time to end on.
Yeah, we're just starting.
I know, just joined a couple seconds ago too.
No, I don't know if Latinos don't have a history, but we are gonna call it a night. Everybody, if you, we right now blab every third Saturday of the month at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So be on the lookout for that. Like the Latinas Chat Media page. Follow all of us on Twitter if you're on Twitter. And that way you'll be able to stay in touch with us and be part of our next conversation. So sorry for the technical issues on my end, but I know that my sisters held it down and had really provocative, interesting things to say. We appreciate all your comments here. I wish we could save I'm going to set the blab. We need to be able to save a transcript of the live chat so we can see what people say. Because then we can continue the conversations on Twitter.
That'd be great.
That would be
everybody
cool.
Stay safe and create, evolve, and create.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye, everybody.